Hey guys, it's Rob here, and today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. No Nintendo topics today, we're going to be talking about Assassin's Creed, specifically the leaked Assassin's Creed game, Assassin's Creed Mirage. So for those who haven't heard yet, the confirmed leak, which was confirmed by UBISOFT, is that we're going to be getting an Assassin's Creed game that goes back to the older Assassin's Creed games. So think Assassin's Creed 2, 1, 3, Liberty, Black Flag, and so on. And this is really exciting for me personally because I don't really like the new Assassin's Creed games. I think they're not even close to being what Assassin's Creed could be. Aside from the first reboot, if you take out the Assassin's Creed part of the game, you can still pretty much go through the game and still have fun with your Viking game or even your Spartan game. You can still understand what's going on and it will still feel like the game that they intended to make. The recent games are just completely devoid of anything that has to do with assassins at all. Well, I mean, they sprinkle a little bit here and there, but it's not enough. It's not as integral to the whole story and the whole game as it is to, say, Assassin's Creed 2 or Assassin's Creed 3 or Black Flag. So today, let's talk about what I want to see as a fan of the older games, and I still do have my fun in the newer games, don't get me wrong. I'm an open world junkie, but I would like it to go back to the older Assassin's Creed gameplay wise and specifically story wise. Because you know, the new Assassin's Creed games, they're not that bad. Honestly, you could make a pretty damn good stealthy Assassin's Creed games with the current mechanics of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Because let's be honest, aside from Assassin's Creed Unity, which had really great stealth and fantastic parkour, I hope it's like that, but I think we need to be completely honest with ourselves. The older Assassin's Creed games, while there was stealth, yes, let's be honest here. The stealth wasn't the stealth that we have in our mind right now. If you go back and play them, yes, you can go in the bushes, yes, you can hide behind walls, yes, you can use all of these mechanics like the sleep dart, or you can use the smoke bomb and so on to be stealthy, but it wasn't stealth like Splinter Cell. I mean, it was pretty close to that, but it wasn't as detailed, or even games like Thief. But I think the thing that we love about it is that the stealth worked if you wanted to do that, especially when they started with Unity giving you more options to do different things with different entrances. You can wall grab, you can go to different covers, and so on. To be honest, I think the stealth in Assassin's Creed Syndicate is fantastic. A mix between Syndicate and Assassin's Creed Unity would be the perfect stealth. And that's what I want to see in this new Assassin's Creed. I want to see a focus on stealth. I want to still be able to, yes, go out and fight multiple enemies like you could in the last game, but I don't want that combat to be the only option or the easier option. I want to have options, if you know what I mean. And I don't want it to be like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I don't want to see any levels. Now, they do say that there's going to be no RPG mechanics, but I don't want to see enemies that I can't one-hit kill with my hidden blade. That is one of the problems that I have with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which, yes, you can turn off the option, but it kind of feels like cheating to me. I want to be able to play the game, and I want to be smart with my moves when I'm trying to clear out a base or I'm trying to take down a target and so on. Another thing that has to do with stealth is good NPCs. I want the NPC to be smart. I don't want them to be stupid dumb. Another thing about the past Assassin's Creed games is that the NPCs were really dumb, especially in Black Flag. And I love Black Flag. It's my favorite Assassin's Creed game aside from Assassin's Creed Syndicate. But again, let's be completely honest. The NPCs were kinda... There's basically nothing up in their head. Like, the NPCs are dumb. Now, equally as important to stealth, I think combat is also important because in the older Assassin's Creed games, combat was also pretty easy. Now, one problem I have with Assassin's Creed Valhalla combat is that it doesn't feel like you're hitting something, if that makes sense. And this is part of the RPG mechanics that they have, which thankfully, hopefully the rumors are true, that they're going back to the older ways. So hopefully when you're in combat, it feels crunchy, it feels like you're hitting something, and it feels like you're doing damage to the enemy instead of just hitting a sponge. A damage sponge. That is one thing I want to see. I want this showcase to show that yes, we're going back to the older Assassin's Creed ways. Another thing I want to see is options for kills, so different variety of weapons. I want to have not only for combat but for stealth as well. Like, give us the sleep dart, give us the rope dart or something. Give us some new things as well, not just the old things from older games and say, hey, look, we got stuff from the older games, look at here. Bring us some new stuff, especially if it's something that was used during that time period. I think options in Assassin's Creed game is what you want. You want the player to play around with the toy box that you give them. And if you don't give them the tools for that toy box, then it's just gonna be kind of boring. So I hope they give us some really fun things to play with. Pair that with good stealth and good NPCs that are smart and not super dumb. And hopefully stealth is gonna be fun. Now, combat wise, I do want to see a different style of combat. I don't know what they could do. I don't know if they're gonna go into a more Soulsy approach to where it's very dangerous if you get hit, or are they gonna go in an arcade route? To be honest, I kind of want them to go into the arcade route. Not make it like super easy, don't get me wrong, but I do like the more arcadey combat from the older Assassin's Creed games. And then maybe if you put it on the higher difficulty level, it gets a little bit more difficult and you gotta pay attention to what you're doing, but I did like the more arcadey style that they had in the older Assassin's Creed games. But I still want parrying, I still want the cool Assassin's Creed kills. Like, remember all of the cool finishers that you could do in Assassin's Creed Syndicate and Unity, and even in Assassin's Creed 2 and 3, like those were really cool. Even in the newer games, they have really cool finishers. So let's see more of that flashy gameplay and cool art style that makes you feel like you're powerful. And moving on, let's talk about a bit of the story. So the story, I want to see him deal with the assassins. I want to see them talk about the Assassin's Code. I want to see them talk about the Templars. I want to see them talk about the Pieces of Eden. I want to see them talk about all of these things. And yes, the recent Assassin's Creed games have delved into that, but when you're playing it in the beginning of the game, you don't really hear about it. You don't really feel like it's in the system. And by system, I mean game. But you guys know what I'm talking about. When you first boot up Assassin's Creed, you feel like you're an assassin. Well, it depends on which one, because eventually you do become an assassin. But it usually happens within the first act. The recent games, they don't feel like they have Assassin's Creed in them. It usually takes a little while to be able to feel that Assassin's Creed vibe. You don't really see too many hidden ones, you don't really see the robes, like it sucks. Whenever I think of the older Assassin's Creed games, my favorite part was always having that main character and finding out who this main character was in the beginning and his story and what drives him to the assassins or how he discovers the assassins and when he first puts on that robe. And then the game makes you go on a viewpoint and you get that first view of the whole city or whole landscape. I miss that feeling, and that feeling just isn't in the recent Assassin's Creed games. Like, man, I'm not doing this on a script, so if I mess up with my words, by the way, that's why, but I really miss that feeling of Assassin's Creed, finding out about the new characters and the people that we're going to be playing with and just the whole thing. Like, if you're watching this by now, I'm sure people have probably already clicked off of it, but remember that feeling you used to feel, the feeling of wonder. I miss that. And not only wonder, but mystery too. And just, I miss having a new assassin or, a sequel like Assassin's Creed 2 or 3 on the Assassin's Creed series. I miss that a lot, and I hope they do that going forward. Because that was one of the great things about Assassin's Creed. It was almost like it's almost like movies for me, because I love movies as well. You get a new movie in like the MCU or the DCU, and it extends the story going forward. It was almost like it was a cinematic universe, now I think about it. That's a good way of putting it. They built an Assassin's Creed cinematic universe, and then it's like if the MCU were to somehow not even make a superhero movie. Like, what if the MCU just randomly put in a rom-com? And I'm not talking about with two heroes or anything, just regular people, no heroes, not even one mention of the heroes. You wouldn't even know it's placed in the MCU, aside from maybe a couple nods here and there. That's what the new Assassin's Creeds are like. And I don't absolutely hate the new Assassin's Creed games, but I really miss the older Assassin's Creed games because they felt like Assassin's Creed games. And next, I think we need to talk about the mystical parts of Assassin's Creed. So, in my opinion, I don't think there should be any mystical BS in this game. Like, I think the mystical parts of Assassin's Creed are just super stupid and dumb, and I think they should, if they really want to do that, just do that in, like, a different game. Because apparently there is supposed to be another Assassin's Creed game. It's supposed to be like a hub, and you're supposed to get these different experiences. So there's going to be multiple Assassin's Creed games going on, so I'm sure they're still going to do their usual open world Assassin's Creed game, but then they're going to have one for the older fans, and I think that's a really good compromise. I think having two different Assassin's Creed games, or maybe even more than that, it is a good compromise. Because one thing that making these new Assassin's Creed has done is almost split the player base. I wouldn't say in a bad way, but not in a good way either. On one hand, you have the older fan base like me who likes the older games, and you have the other side of the fan base that likes these newer games. Now, you do have some people who like both, because I do like both in some ways, but there is two sides of the fan base right now. Now, another thing I want is very, very, very good parkour. I have no idea why they like just got rid of the parkour in the recent games. Well, they didn't get rid of it, but they completely destroyed it. Like, why don't we have good parkour in these games? Parkour is one of Assassin's Creed's most notable things. That is the fun. I mean, how many of you guys, like me, just went around all the cities and just parkoured? Jumping around the rooftops, feeling like a stealthy assassin? That was fun. Not even taking out people, or even just going to rooftop to take out the people on the top in Assassin's Creed 2. I used to do that for hours, and I miss the parkour. I want it to be fast, fluid, and I want it to feel great. So hopefully they give us some good parkour. I mean, if they can get it close to Assassin's Creed Unity or even better than that, that would be amazing. But I guess we'll find out tomorrow. Now, I am going to do another video on this and give my thoughts on Assassin's Creed Mirage and all the stuff that's at the Ubisoft showcase. So if you guys want that video, click that subscribe button, and of course have that notification bell on as well, because one thing that YouTube doesn't really do is bring your videos to people's subscribers, and that's been a huge problem. So having all notification bells on really helps, and even then sometimes they don't bring it to you. But hopefully I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys, and remember, stay safe, stay charged, and have a good one.